Hi friends, I'm the Bald Guy, and these are Bald Guy Basics. There are a number of tools that you'll want to have in your shop if you're doing any kind of woodworking or, for this matter, metalworking. And today I'm going to review for you another sanding item, the WEN 1x30 belt sander. I have found this to be extremely handy, very useful tool to have. Last year I began to make some handles for pocket knives, and I ended up buying blanks. I'm not into forging, so I did not want that kind of equipment, but I would buy a knife blank, a piece of metal that was shaped appropriately, but you know, I was green as they could be, and I had no idea what that entailed. So I found out that the blades often were too thick, so I had to do a lot of grinding, and of course I had a grinding wheel for that. And then for finer work, I needed to do some sharpening, so I got myself a 1x30 belt sander. It fits my shop, it is portable, it's easily storable, and it's one of the handier little tools I've had around here. So just a quick review, an overview of how this thing works and what it's capable of, and maybe you'll want one for your shop. Let me get my phone here. I looked on Amazon, and the very model I have, which is the WEN 6515T, is right now $68.50, and that's with free shipping, and that's through Amazon. So plus or minus, you can find these I guess in other locations as well, but I typically use Amazon a lot. I haven't looked on eBay, but this is an item that you might want to have. Let me tell you up front though, the one thing that is absolutely necessary for you to do for these, it's not a modification, but the sanding belts that come with these things, and the cheap sanding belts that are available through Amazon and other retailers, will make you want to throw this thing away. I really had trouble until I bought some fine abrasives, better quality abrasives, and this turned an average tool into an exceptional tool for my uses. I will remind you, I am not an industrial user. I don't need professional grade. I use these things from time to time to make a knife. I've made a couple of dozen knives, I guess. Very handy for sharpening lawnmower blades, kitchen knives, and shaping wood as well. So let's look at this thing and see what you think. You know, they say a tool is a tool and a sander is a sander, but it's nice to know what you are capable of with the tools that you get. And this belt sander has a 30-inch long belt. It simply rotates around here. Basically I remove this screw, and I don't quite tighten the other screws. I can pop my cover off very easily. The table is tiltable, and you have an attached handle here. You just pull it out and move it and turn it, and you can tilt your table to a pretty good degree. You also have a disc sander on the end. That table is also tiltable, and it's got a little guide, a little fence there that you can use as well. The dust cover is nice, especially if you're doing something with metal, because even with the vacuum, and you see I've got my hose hooked up, there's an exhaust port here. Even with that, you can throw some particulate. I don't mind so much a little sawdust when I'm doing wood. However, when there's metal, you really want something to keep that out of your eyes. But I can do this one-handed here because I'm holding the camera. Pop this loose. This comes out. Drop that off, and the whole side comes out to remove your belt and to replace it. This thing is spring loaded, so when I pull this forward, that releases the tension, and of course I don't have my other hand to pull it off. So it's a very handy design. I can change belts in a matter of moments. I showed in another video, the leather strop is another very handy option for these things. And I buy, see my mess up here, I buy belts by the dozens, and I just hang them there. Up here I've got some nice 1x30. This is Klingspor. I have found Klingspor to be a pretty good brand for my uses. But the sander operates very simply. Oh, I don't want to turn it on just yet. I do want to show you one thing. Let me put the camera down here. I have a vacuum cleaner in the floor. And I don't know if you remember these things. I actually just threw it away. I had one of those old red Dirt Devil hand vacs that were popular, good gracious, in the 80s or even the 90s. If I were to say that thing sucked, you might get the wrong idea because it had very little suction. But it did have a lot of attachments, and one of the attachments was a simple hose. The hose comes close to fitting. You'll see I've got some painter's tape on both ends. I needed just a fraction of an inch, and by doing that, I've got this loose here, I get a really good seal. There's no wiggle there. The other end works on the hose of my vacuum cleaner. So literally, I can pop 1, 2 screws in place. And of course I dropped my other screw. I've now secured my guard. And now my dust cover is completely in place. She's fully prepared for work now. One of the things I found very handy, I took an old bed rail and just cut me some jigs. I measure the angle of my table here, lay a jig on here, and I can literally clamp a knife. I can do this by hand. Put a knife on there, and I know I have a 15-degree angle here. And I can place an edge on my blade at the exact angle I want by just drawing it across. That's one of the ways I practice starting out. When your band sander is running and you're putting pressure, there's a metal support at the bottom here. Across the back of this, don't let it mess it up. It's a relatively uniform sound there. When you have a cheap belt on, and these belts they're taped together, so there's a joint. The cheap belts, that's where they get you. That joint, when you put any pressure here, you'll hear click, 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 click. And eventually it will tear the belt in half. I have so many belts that just popped in half, and I was amazed because I had not done that much work with them. So the better quality belts, which are not an arm and a leg, will make this a much handier tool for you. So as I said, I am able to cut wood or sand wood. I am able to do metal. I'll even show you here. When I cut this, I cut it with a hand grinder. I took the burr edges off of it. Very handy, very sustainable piece of equipment. And when I have heavy particulate, I simply hook up my hose. Let's see, yeah, this end goes here. I've got a vacuum in the floor. Hit my vacuum on. Oh, it's not plugged up. And now I'm pulling 95% of my particulate into the vacuum. So it's a very handy device to have for under a $70 investment. Have a lot of use. I do not use the disc sander very much. I do at times, and I have discs, but I've got another disc sander on the larger belt sander over here, so I tend to use that over there. The table has its own exhaust port. You can drop it to the angle you want and just snug it back up. Works pretty well. Again, I repeat, I am not a professional craftsman. I do this for my own use, and I have found this to be very sufficient for my needs. So the WEN series of tools, I read a lot of reviews, and some people have trouble with them. Well, I suppose in my mind that's what I get for choosing non-professional tools, but I'm willing to live with that. I have found, number one, Amazon, and most of the retailers on Amazon are very good to very good with their customer service. And for the most part, machines like this, if they're going to give me trouble, they give me trouble up front. So I'm able to return them, and I've had very good luck with that. But do pay attention to your reviews on the equipment you buy. It's one of the best ways of getting real world data. There's a little rule of thumb. You could give away free ice cream, and there are some people who are going to complain. So finding a certain percent of bad reviews is to be expected. You need to read those reviews with a bit of a discerning mind and see what kind of complaint the person is issuing. Is it a personal preference complaint? Is it the, sometimes crap happens complaint? Or is it truly, this is a manufacturing defect that is going to affect a lot of people? So when I read reviews, I'm looking for consistent complaints. If I have 5, 6, 7, 8 guys that complain all of, a bearing going out or the motor overheating or something like that, now I know I have a product defect that I really don't want to deal with. Other than that, the thing to do is when you find a job that you need a tool for, get a tool. I am very satisfied by buying these light duty tools. If someday, when I'm more fully retired, I want to do more work, then perhaps I will know more about what to buy with a more heavy duty machine. Until then, I'm having a ball with this one. This is The Bald Guy, hoping that you're having a ball too. Hope you'll give us a subscribe. Hope you'll leave us with a like. And you can find my page also on Facebook at Bald Guy Basics. Just look on Facebook. If you have personal communication that you'd like to do with me, I enjoy engaging with my followers. So that's the best way to leave us a message. And we will get back to you as quick as we can. Have a great day.